In terms of gameplay, Metal Gear Solid 5 might be one of the greatest stealth games ever made. Who knows, it might be the best. So why does MGS5 need to be defended if the gameplay is so good? Reviews for the game were absolutely glowing. Reviewers only had wonderful things to say about it, with many even giving it perfect scores. Yet the game has been maybe not ridiculed, because that's a little too harsh of a word, but more heavily criticized by the series' biggest fans. The main argument I've seen bumping around the internet is that the game is unfinished and lacked any type of story. Well, at least an insane convoluted story that takes some deep research to even begin to understand, like in the previous Metal Gear Solid games. While I might agree that the game felt a little unfinished, there was a story there, it's just if you chose to listen to it. It definitely is different from the past games, but just because something is different doesn't mean we should break out the torches. And also, this is coming from someone who has played all mainline MGS games, as well as watched many videos to try to understand the very convoluted lore, but did the story really matter? So let's talk about it. Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots was a very interesting game, and definitely interesting for me the first time I played it. As someone who is a big MGS fan, this was my first entry into the series. I enjoyed my experience with the game, but to me, it wasn't anything mind-blowing the first time I beat it. It was a confusing game because I had no idea what the hell was going on, and the gameplay never really sucked me in. I put it away once I was done with it and didn't really think about it much after. Well, until my brother bought the HD collection with 2, 3, and Peace Walker. I decided I would try to give these ones a go since I like Guns of the Patriots enough and didn't really have any other games to play. Well, 4 games later, including Twin Snakes, I was absolutely hooked to the series and lore. I looked up videos to understand backstories and everything. So I thought, well, I might as well give Guns of the Patriots another go since I actually know what the hell is going on. And I have to say, from a fan's perspective, that second playthrough was one of the coolest video game experiences I've ever played. Metal Gear Solid 4 is the ultimate hype / mind-boggling / fan servicey game ever made. But now that I think about it, I was lucky enough to have my brother purchase that collection, because if he hadn't, I would have probably never returned to the series. Now, as a Metal Gear Solid fan, Guns of the Patriots is a masterpiece. But back when I wasn't a fan, it was a good game I wouldn't think about after I finished. I have to believe there were plenty of other people out there that thought they would jump into the series at 4, but then got turned off to it because of the ridiculously long cutscenes and not having a clue what's going on. So this leads me to the development of Metal Gear Solid 5, which I believe has the best gameplay of any MGS game by a wide margin, and there's a reason for that. Gameplay is one of the first aspects of a game that you experience when booting it up. Gameplay is what has players spending hundreds of hours with their favorite titles. Do you think people play League of Legends for thousands of hours because of the lore? Absolutely not. And I think Kojima realized that. The gameplay of Metal Gear Solid 4 was nothing too special, so players who have no experience with the series probably didn't come back to it. That would have been me if I didn't stumble upon the other games. Whereas MGS5 was all about the gameplay, almost to a literal standpoint. There were few cutscenes in the game, which was unheard of for a Metal Gear Solid game. Now you can just listen to the story on your cassette tape when doing missions, which was brilliant to me. Kojima and his crew had crafted one of the best playgrounds ever made in a video game. What I mean by playground is that now the player has a jillion different options to play with, just like a kid on the playground. So why take the player away from that? I would be shoving it in everyone's face too if I was Kojima. You still get your weird and convoluted story, just without the over-the-top cutscenes. Nothing like this had been done before in a Metal Gear game. Every game before had been basically a linear experience, as in you must do certain things in a certain order to progress through the story, and there isn't much freedom. There might be some light backtracking in the games, but nothing too serious. But Kojima was moving to an open world now, which at first worried me. I really believe there are just too many open world games coming out nowadays that are just kind of boring. If the game isn't fun to play, nobody is going to play it. But games are taking more money to make now, and companies want the player to stick around as long as possible with their game and buy DLC or even microtransactions. So why make a 10 to 15 hour experience when you can make a big world filled with checkboxes to complete and squeeze out 25 to 30 hours? But Kojima knocked it out of the park. Metal Gear Solid 5 creates endless possibilities to play through. which is kind of what we're seeing now with more popular and better rated games of the past couple years. Breath of the Wild gives you a huge open world with an arsenal of tools to use and allows you to do whatever the hell you want. PUBG creates ridiculous situations for you and your friends to get out of, and Super Mario Odyssey gives you a playground to jump around in. All these games allow you, the player, to create your own stories and get in unique situations that maybe nobody has gotten into or done. And The Phantom Pain is almost a perfect example. Just off the top of my head, I remember one time I was playing through a mission where I had to take out a soldier from a base. I had snuck my way through most of the entire base until I was seen just before I got to my target. Next thing I know, I'm following an escaping helicopter and I blow it out of the sky with a missile launcher. That was my story and mine alone. It wasn't scripted or anything. To me, this gameplay loop was better than any scripted sequence or cutscene I had experienced in the past MGS games. I had more fun playing through the countless missions and taking out enemies or traversing a base without being seen than I had in any other game. So why keep that away from the player? Maybe the cutscenes in Guns of the Patriots were super fan servicey and wonderful to lifelong fans, but man, did some of them just drag on forever and keep you away from actually playing the game. To new players, that had to be a drag because to really enjoy Guns of the Patriots, you need to have played all the other games. And I know because I was one of those people. Metal Gear Solid 4 was a love letter to their fans, which is great. I think every series should have a game just like that, where it's just packed to the brim with fan service. And these are just my opinions. I play games mostly for the gameplay, whereas others might play for something else. But there is nothing wrong with mixing up the formula and creating a new one, especially when the new formula is this damn good. Thanks for watching. As always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment below. I'll see you next time.